Good afternoon. This is a quick stream at short notice. I had a little bit of time, so I thought I'd try and pick up Venus and then swing across to Mercury. They're pretty high at the moment and they're pretty intense, so I thought I'd see if I could pick them up. And as you can see on screen right now, despite the wind, that is Venus. And when the wind settles down, it will be a pretty stable picture. Turn the gain down a little bit. And see if we can get a little bit more colour in there. It's a really hot day, so there's a lot of thermals out there. I've got the main fan on the back of the tube blowing through, just trying to keep it cool a little bit. And I'm just waiting for everything to settle down a bit. So just keep it on there. And let's see if the thermals settle down for a little bit. There's a little bit of breeze, so it might blow away the heat and let it settle down. Just a little tweak on the focus, and there you go. That's a little bit better view of it, and let's see if we can tweak the settings a little bit. There we go. That's about as good as we're going to get it for now. And while I've got it on there, I'm just going to shoot across, see if I can pick Mercury up. So Mercury should appear somewhere in there. We've got a very, very narrow field of vision. And there we go, that's Mercury. Let's see if we can just tweak that focus a little bit better. For what it's worth, that's Mercury. Oops, a little bit fast, because we've got such high magnification at the moment. And what you can see is the effects of all that heat that we've had today. So yes, it's been an absolute lovely day, dumping all that heat into the roofs and the ground. So just when you want it to cool down, so you can play with your nice equipment, your nice cameras and your nice telescopes, it decides to release all that heat back into the air. And just drag across stellarium. There we go, that's how close they are, really, really close. And my limiting angle of horizon is 30 degrees. So we're pointing so close to the rooftops, it's causing all those thermals. But there you have it, that's Mercury. And if I just slide that out of the way, click on that, and then let's send it to Venus. So any second now we should see Venus appear somewhere on the centre screen. Oop, there you go. and that's lazy gazing at its finest. Now if I close that, move that out of the way, we can see we can tweak the settings a little bit. Yeah, the wind's blowing pretty strong outside. Let's see what this can do a little bit, see if that brings anything in. I don't think it likes that. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do while we've got, let's see if we can get some colour. Because we know Mercury is blue. No, sorry, Venus is blue. The white balance says there. And the sky is blue. A bit more purple than I intended. I think that is pretty good for the planet Venus. Right, if I set up a capture, now how do we use this software? I've never used this software before. Please shout up if anybody knows what I need to do here. That's the output format. Capture. Right, I think it'll be up here. Start capture. How convenient. Right then, number of frames. Let's go for 2,500. And we'll do 4 runs of it. And there we go, it's running. So after these 4 runs, I should be able to find 500 frames from each that are pretty stable, and then I'll stack them to make a solid single picture. And if we look at the bottom here, it's dropping a lot of frames for some reason. I wonder why that is. Temperature's pretty warm. We're dropping more frames than we're capturing. Let me just have a look at what the CPU is doing. Right, system interrupts are at 100%. And it's not SharpCap that's doing it. The CPU is nailed down at 100%. So something. OBS Studio's at 82%, so it's not that. We love a mystery. Right, I should be speeding up. SharpCap and OBS Studio. They've been very greedy this evening. Right, that's the first one done. Look at that. all 16 cores. Just dropping down now, that might make it a little bit easier. We've stopped dropping frames now, look. Bottom left hand corner, we're no longer dropping frames. But the wind is causing problems. Right. We'll run a few captures on these. I know it's a bit jittery there with the wind, but as soon as we've got a few thousand frames, what we'll do, we've got software that will pick out the most stable frames, put them to one side, stack them all together, and we get quite an impressive single image. So unfortunately it's just a case of waiting for the breeze to drop. And there's also a lot of heat in the telescope tube. I've got a 120mm fan at the bottom that's buffered just to try and dissipate the heat a little bit. Right, the camera is a dedicated planetary camera, ASI 224. It is a colour camera, and it's also on a 3x Barlow. So with the native focal length of 1500mm, multiply that by 3, get 4500mm, and a small sensor gets this close to Venus. So it's a really tight shot, and any little bit of movement is magnified a load. So it makes for a very unstable image, especially with the thermals coming out the tube. And we've stopped dropping frames, and we're capturing quite a lot now. And it's dropping them again. I wonder why that is. Wow, it's gone back to 100%. I've got a feeling it's sharp cap software that's causing the issues. And it's dropping more frames than it's capturing again. Got that sharp cap there. Highly strange. Oh, are we doing any updates? Let's have a look. Oh, we are indeed. Don't you just love Microsoft? They pick the perfect time to do an update. Pause that. A few on the fly tweaks. What could possibly go wrong? There we go. What could possibly go wrong? Hey Tom, how you going, mate? Right, Venus is about minus 4.7, I do believe. Sorry, minus 4.39. I'll bring in the Stellarium software up. Tells you just there, the magnitude of Venus is minus 4.39. And Mercury, I think that's about minus 0.15, 0.75. So Venus, Mercury is quite bright as well. I'll move that back out the way, and I'll minimise that. And a good evening to you, mate. I've got a lot of thermals at the minute because it's quite low over the rooftops. The tube is really hot. The observatory's been in direct sunlight all afternoon, even though I've had the roof open a little bit. You can see how the scope's just oscillating a little bit with the breeze blowing on it, and that's the thermals coming down the tube. The tube's 1.5 meters long and black, so the heat in there is going to take quite a while to leave. The mirror at the bottom weighs a fair few kilograms, so that's going to retain a lot of heat. And I've got a 120mm fan drawing air through it that should be taking it away. We are now in shadow in the observatory. I'm looking at it now, so the shade will be starting to help. across a little bit more. I'll shoot across over to Mercury again in a short while. This is on the second capture run. I might even stack them live on stream so you can see what sort of picture we can get out of this. Show the process. It takes about 15 minutes and you can get a pretty solid image out of it, assuming this bit settles down. I'm just going to try and tweak the focus a little bit, because as it cools down the focus will drift. There you go. So it's cooled down a lot, and as it cools down the focus shifts a little bit, and that looks a lot better. Now I'll show you a picture later. I'll go out with my phone. I'll take you a picture. It's just an open tube with a mirror at one end, but around the mirror there's about a 15mm gap. So at the back end I've put a shield and a 120mm fan. So the fan draws in cool air directly onto the mirror, hits the mirror and bounces off, buffering it so there's no direct air flow, and it filters around the edge of the mirror and then dissipates down the tube. So as it goes down the tube there's no direct airstream to interrupt the thermals in the tube, so it's still random, but it's enough to cause enough airflow for the heat to go out the top of the tube rather than just sit there and naturally vent under its own steam. But that looks a lot better picture, but you can still see the effects of the thermals. Yeah, just a little positive pressure behind the mirror, and it just bounces off the back of the mirror and off the cowling that I've made, and it just disrupts enough of the airflow so it doesn't cause a laminar flow down the tube, and it slows it down enough so the thermals don't get a chance to settle. And we're just coming up to the end of this run. There we go, there's the end of that one. I think the crescent of Venus is going to get a lot thinner than that tomorrow evening. If it's clear, I'll try and repeat it, because I finish work tomorrow at about 3:30 in the afternoon. I've got to fetch my daughter from university, but I should be able to start an afternoon stream if it's clear, around 5 o'clock, 5:30ish. But I'll preempt it by setting the cooling up a little bit early. Try to stop this thermal distortion. Oh, it's going to be quite a couple of years now before that transit across the face of the sun at the moment, because there was one earlier on in this year. I'll quickly Google it because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I might have to wait up a little bit longer to get the next transit of Venus. It's the 10th and 11th of December, 2117. So it's more than a fortnight away, and I might have a new camera by then. Let's have a look when Mercury's next due to do a flyby. Oh, that's not so bad. 2032. I'll have my Zimmer frame powered up by then. Yeah, Venus will be passing between us and the Sun. And then Mercury's doing it in 2032, passing between Earth and the Sun. So we'll see that going across. I do believe in somewhere in my photo collection I have an image of when I got Mercury going across the front face of the Sun. And there it is. That round dot there is Mercury. That's Mercury going past front of the Sun with a few sunspots thrown in for good measure. There you go, that was last time Mercury went across. Mercury lasted a few hours from start to finish, but I'm not sure about Venus, because I've never captured Venus going across. I should imagine it'd be a similar sort of a time frame. For some reason, Studio's not updating. Might lose connection for a second. I'm just going to do a quick refresh. So if you lose my stream, I'll restart it again in a few seconds. Just stand by. Right, still got connection. That's a lot better. We're still alive. We're still active. The nuclear reactor is still running. Right, I just had a bit of an issue on the stream software. That's it. I think it's on the very last capture now. And this is really pushing the processor. It's flat out at 100%. Oh, it's hammering the disk as well. The disk is absolutely filling up. Let me just have a look at disk space available. I wonder if that's what's causing it to have issues. How much disk space have I got on drive C? No, that's not it. Drive C's got a little bit of space there. Yeah, Venus is a lot larger than Mercury, so it'll be a lot easier to see. And you could actually see sunspots. What am I running this evening? Oh, what OS? Oh, I'm running Windows 10. I moved up from Windows 7 a while ago because Windows 10 became pretty solid. It was pretty reliable. The driver updates were pretty good, and most of the cameras worked pretty flawlessly from installation. Windows 7 was getting a little bit sketchy because they weren't supporting the drivers. Yes, you can. You just take the tick out of auto, put it in manual, and then just tell it how much you need. I've already got it set because I've got two SSDs in here, and I've set the paging file to the second SSD. So C drive's completely free for disk writing. Yeah, I used to work in. I worked in the industry for 10 years on computer installation and maintenance. So I know my way around a big hammer. know when to hit it, know when to pour water on it. Right, what we got? Right, you can see there, look, disk usage has dropped down as soon as that last capture finished, and the CPU usage has dropped down. It just seems to be hammering the CPU, and the speed's coming up because it's starting to cool. I've made a water-cooled PC to run this, so you can see the couple of cores there are still going to be running the main software, but all the others are dropping down and easing on the usage, so it should cool down significantly in a bit. This stream's got everything. Windows 10 hints and tips. Right, I'll leave that there for a second. Shall we just nip over and see if we can see Mercury? Move that out of the way. There we go, we've already got Mercury selected. A Mac! A Mac! You'll make my mouse quiver and die. Right, let's just select this. That's where the scope's currently pointing. There, look. So that one is selected, and this is how easy it is to jump between targets. Click that button and then wait for it to appear just there. And for what it's worth, that there is Mercury, somewhat smaller. Let's see if we can tweak a little bit of focus into it. Somehow I'll do a capture run. I'll just do one run because it's not high quality on that. 2,500 frames, one sequence, and we'll start it. But I'm not expecting to get anything significant out of that quality of a shot, but we should be able to get a little bit of an image out of it. That one up there out the way. Yeah, it's dropping a lot of frames again. Let's have a look. What's the CPU's doing? Yeah, look, just out of curiosity, I'll bring it across for you while it's capturing. All 16 cores are being hammered, and that's the hard drive utilization. Write speed 52 megabytes a second, so it's memory's pretty stable. 16 gig of RAM. Ethernet is streaming pretty good. Graphics card is pretty well under control. Right, bring that out of the way. Still capturing. Dropped a lot of frames, mind, but not bothered about that as long as we've got enough frames to stack. And bear in mind, I'm in bright sunshine here, so you couldn't want worse conditions to look at planets. Bright evening sunshine. It's just off centre from the telescope. So let's just have a look where it is on the stellarium. Let's move that out of the way. Close that. There we go. The scope's pointing in that sort of a direction, and the sun's coming into the top of the scope and reflecting in the top of the scope. So it's not the perfect situation for imaging, but we take what we can get these days, especially with the weather we've been having just lately. And I wasn't even expecting to be streaming this evening. And just out of curiosity, Y4 is still above my horizons. So when this is finished, I'm not going to swap over cameras, but I'll hop over and see if we can land on Atlas. See if we can get a quick image grab from Atlas. How does that sound? Because of how faded it was last time, and we have got the wrong camera on, I'll be most surprised if we do pick anything up. But what I'll do, I'll hop over to a star nearby, lock onto that, synchronise with it, and then slew across a little bit at a time, so we could walk the telescope onto it. And just about finished, I think. Let's have a look at that. Yes, it's still hammering the CPUs. Well, I can see Atlas on Stellarium. I'll show you how close we are from Mercury to Atlas. Fill the screen up. Look, that's where we are currently, and there's Atlas Y4. See, what I'd do before coming over to there, I'd land on one of these main stars, set a synchronization point. Merfac's a nice bright one, so that's magnitude 1.75. So I'd probably land on that one, centralize that, then shoot over to Atlas. So we'll just let this run finish, because there's my limiting horizon, that 30 degrees. As soon as it gets to that, I hit the rooftops. So I might just be able to get over there and get a crafty image. So have a look. Yeah, that's finished. Right then, let's see what we can do. Pick a nice bright target for reference. Right, I'm going to slew across, and we're going to see if we can land on Merfac. See if a star comes up anywhere centre. It's landed on it. Let's have a look on the other camera. Can't see it on the other camera. So let me just got to bear in mind the field of view with this camera is very, very narrow. Really, really narrow. So Atlas would almost fill the screen with this current configuration. So finding that star, even if we're just a fraction out, could prove a bit of a challenge. So you have to just bear with me a few seconds while I run the search, see if I can pick it up, and then as soon as I do, we'll hop across to the location of the comet and see what we can see. Let me just tweak the settings on my other. So I've got a slightly wider field of view on my other tube, on my other scope. And I can find it on the other scope. I can align it up so it appears central on the main scope. So you just have to bear with for a few moments. It might not actually be visible in this sort of light. because this is a plus 1.75 magnitude, which is a whole lot dimmer than what we're currently looking at. There it was. Just bear with me, I've just got to look at it on the other scope. We're not far out, so yeah, I'm just concentrating on the other camera, on the other view. In fact, I'll bring it across and you can see what I'm actually looking at. This is the finder scope, the guide scope. So it's got a slightly wider field of view than the other camera, even though the viewing port that you can see on screen is smaller. The actual width in pixels is significantly larger than the other planetary camera. And it's normally easier on here to pick out a target and then manipulate it so it appears central on the main camera, main tube. And a few seconds ago I thought I saw it go across screen. So it shouldn't be too far out. Can't even see a chat window, just bear with me. Yeah, and the magnitude is pretty grim, but I'd like to give it a try. I'd like to give it a try. Because you never know, if you just keep reading the numbers and going by the numbers, you'll and trust them, you never know if your equipment can outperform the numbers you see on screen. I mean, in theory, my main mono camera that we did most of the work on Atlas Y4 should not have been able to get the details that we actually did. But because we, like I said on the stream, pressed some buttons, we manipulated the data that we actually captured, and it revealed some stuff that we wouldn't normally see. So it's always worth having a go and pressing some buttons. And unfortunately at the minute I'm not picking anything up on here. See, I've got two screens on my setup, and I normally have this on one screen and the main tube on the other screen. I could actually do with a third screen for a chat window and everything, but hey ho, that might be for the future. I have other financial outlays at the moment, so just got to bide my time, and that new graphics card might just appear in the computer at some point. Right, let me just reset the target. Right, slightly wider view on that camera. Tweak the exposure, the gain a little bit. Right, we shouldn't be too far out. I know the lock on Mercury and Venus was pretty good. So either magnitude plus 175 is too dim for my kit to pick up in this bright light. Ooh, thought I saw it there. Or we've drifted a long way off. Thought I see things, I imagine things as I'm looking, so I'm staring intently at the screen. Right, let's just reconfirm. We're going to slow over to Venus. Venus should appear somewhere in this left-hand side. There you go. So, and that on that left-hand side there, if I move the camera out of the way, you can see the alignment. Oops. So you can see how one scope has a different field of view to the other scope. That whole camera on this left-hand side, the main tube, occupies a small square on that one, because they're both looking at the same target. There you go. So you can see the difference in magnifications between the two cameras and two tubes. On the main picture, the camera is attached to the small white telescope bolted to the front of the main tube, and this is the main tube, the big black one. So the difference is quite large. So with that one being synchronized to center of screen, oops, too fast. When I slew, right, let me get to the scope again. When I slew across to that star, Mercury, it should be reasonable center on that, and it should appear somewhere in this area here. And it's just about landed on the star now. I can't see it on there anywhere. Let's just tweak it up a bit. So if I bring that back across, slow it down a bit. Right, get that one out of the way. And let's tweak this one a little bit. And no, we can't pick that star up. It should be somewhere central on there. But at the moment, we're struggling to pick it up. That's right. That's right. The magnification on this one, that star should be a little bit bigger than what the actual cursor is on the screen. But with this one, it should be smaller and brighter. And if I bring up the exposure, we should be able to see it, but we can't. So let's bring it across. We're manipulating the scope's pointing direction very slowly. And normally we just bring it across this way to centralize it on here, and it drops it off the right hand screen on the main tube. But I think magnitude 1.75 is too much to hope for in bright sunlight. I'll bring it up for you and I'll show you. It's not that close to the sun, but it's the magnitude, you see. Close that. The sun's just going, it's below my horizon now. It's below 15 degrees. I've gone to that bright star, just there, Mercury, that's quite bright. It is it's plus 1.75 magnitude, and that's 3.6, so it's going to be a struggle. But if we go to Mercury, that's minus 0.75, and that's minus 4.39. So if I shoot across to Mercury, to Venus, current object, which is that one selected, scopes selected on the target, and then slew. Now if I move that one down, move that out of the way, this is the scope coming across, and if I click on the camera, you'll see it'll come into view. There we go. There you go. That's how accurate it is. So we should have been seeing that star center of screen. AW, big W, little w. Yeah, Atlas is above the horizon for me at the minute, but I'll just show you because we've literally just been looking at it. So we've just slewed across. Venus is there, look, just above 30 degrees for me, really close to the rooftops. There's Atlas just above my horizon, and that was the star I was trying to pick up on. Atlas is quite dim, but Venus is at magnitude minus 4.39. That star is magnitude 1.75, and we couldn't even pick that star up. So we're just above, and it's still bright sunshine outside, and it's not even classed as dark. Mercury at that current location now is just to the side of a rooftop, so I might still be able to get Mercury. So let me just see if I can pick Mercury up on the main scope. Current selected object, slew. Bring the camera up, and we'll see if Mercury will appear. There it is, that's Mercury. That's just in a gap next to the houses next to me. So that's about the lowest I can possibly go to pick up a target. And that's minus 0.75, I do believe. So let me just swing that across and centralize it. Right, let me just try focusing a little bit. Now that's about as good as it. In fact, that's quite stable now, so I might just do a capture on that. 2,500 frames and start. That might make an image. So I'll just do a quick capture run on that while it's there. It's still fading in and out a little bit, but like I say, might get a capture on it. And go back to the this one's not quite sensitive enough to pick it up, because it should be just here. Now it's the position of the scope on the tube is underneath the tube, so that's pointing straight at the wall of the observatory, so that's not going to pick anything up at that angle. So let me just move that one out of the way. And that's only using the top quarter of the telescope. So if you imagine the circle of the telescope, it's just the top quarter of the circle that's looking above the wall of the observatory. From my location in Mansfield, there, That's just below 31 degrees from my location. That is just below 31 degrees, see there. And if you look on that, which, there we go, set to Mansfield with my latitude, longitude. So for me, 30 to 31 degrees is the last vestiges of viewing opportunities, sorry. So we'll let this run its course, and I may stack those. Time we got 25 past 7. I might stack those to see if I can create a little image out of them. I'll do it on screen so you can see what's involved in turning them into an image. And that's nearly finished. Have a look at the usage on the CPU. It's at 50%, but it's just finished. Look, it's just dropped to the end, just finished. So that should, yep, that's capture's done. And I think we'll go back to Venus, because Venus is a lot easier on the eye, and it's slightly higher as well. So there we go, bye bye Mercury, hello Venus. There we go, just bring that back down a bit. Let's just tweak the focus. Drop the exposure a little bit. There we go. I wonder if we should do one more capture on that while we're here, because the atmosphere does seem to be stabilising a little bit. It'd be silly not to grab it while it's there. Yes, from my location, the declination is 31 degrees. If you had a look on the, I'll bring it up again. On Stellarium, this is GPS locked to my location. So this and Stellarium and this, they've both got the same latitude, longitude, so they synchronise together. So whatever, this is the telescope, the EQ mod is the telescope. This talks to Stellarium. So whatever I get on screen, whatever I get a screen on here, and I select, it will tell this software to go to there. So that should appear at centre of screen. So they talk to each other. And if you have a look, just here, look, 30.30 degrees, 30.20 degrees. And if you zoom right in, you can actually see it moving. And that line there is 30.20, as you can see on this right hand side. And that's how I find most of my targets. We'll shoot over to Capella in a bit, see how far out we are on that. And the best part about it, both those two pieces of software are free. Right, is that finished? Yeah, that capture's finished. So Venus is looking pretty damn impressive. That's the 224 ASI 224 planetary camera with a 3 times Barlow, making the focal length 4,500 millimeters, and the focal length on this camera there is 600 millimeters. So you can see the difference between 600 millimeter scope. The camera size, the camera pixel size, are pretty similar. So the camera sensors have got similar characteristics. And if I put that camera on the main scope with a 3 times Barlow, we'd be getting a similar image to that, almost identical. Let me just cool that down a bit. There you go. So that's the difference. And when that location there means it's central on that one. They're not, both the two scopes aren't quite lined up with each other, if you see what I mean. So that's to the left of the screen. But it's one of the things you have to be aware of when you're searching for a target and you're using the secondary scope as the finder scope. Yeah, Swan's not listed on there. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me. I just need a closest reference to it, to Swan. Bring the tracker up. It's a TYC. Right, let me just bring that up. Alright, bear with me a second, I'm just going to type this name in. 2852 1117 -1 252 1117 -1 2852. Can you find it? It's not got it in its database. Two 2852 1117. Ah, that's strange. It's not great on its database. Let me have a look for another one. HIP 14826. There we go, that's that one. Find that. Right. Yep. So Algol's just off the thing, off the bottom right of screen. So yeah, that is way below what I can get at the moment. That's below 25 degrees. So that's a way out of my range. Yes, the guide camera, this one, is also a mono camera. Mono cameras are a lot more sensitive than colour cameras, and they use a colour camera uses 4 pixels in a square, 2 green, 1 red, 1 blue, to create a colour image. That's why most colour cameras are biased towards the green end of the spectrum. But this one's all got single sensors, single pixels, all in mono. So you get a lot finer detail and a lot more sensitivity. Let me just move that one out of the way. Yeah, I know Stellarium updates regularly. It's actually what we're looking at on here. Looks like about 7 degrees, 7 degrees difference on my screen on Stellarium. Let's have a look on the 3D tracker. Let's see if they both appear on the 3D tracker. The 3D orbit. Now it's not going to bring. Now all the 3D orbit tracks, they've all dropped Y4 because it's so dim now. I think, unless there's another reason they've dropped it, which I don't know about. There we go. But unfortunately, it's not added Y4 in there. Strange that. There are not many targets. You noticed how it's settled down? The atmosphere's settled down a little bit. I'm just going to tweak the focus. There you go, let's leave it at that. Yeah, it'd be nice if they did. I mean, to get both of them on one target would be a couple of days away. And if the weather's helpful, I might. Because I've got a small portable telescope, and I could take it to a dark site and set it up. There's a place in Derbyshire called Surprise View, and there's a big car park there with 2 tiers. If you go to the top tier of the car park, a lot of astronomers set up their scopes and equipment up there next to the cars and wait for nightfall. But you have to get there mid-afternoon to find yourself a space because it's not a big car park and there's always a lot of astronomers there. I've been there a couple of times, but boy is it crowded. But you do get to see a lot of people's equipment and cameras. Right, I'm just going to do another capture. It's 2,500. There you go. Yeah, it's high up on a hill. If you Google Surprise Point car park and click on the map, you can see the altitude and the viewing vista from there. It's quite impressive. And if you fancy taking kids out for a picnic, it's a nice place to sit with a pair of binoculars and have a look round. I'm quite surprised how many frames I'm dropping. I wonder if it's because I've got two separate imaging softwares running and streaming and guiding. So there's a lot going off on the CPU at the minute. When this one finishes, I'll have a go at stacking this one, see if I can make it into a decent image. I'll do it on screen so you can see what's involved and what the results can be like. There we go. I think I was just coming up to an end. Transferring the frames across from the buffer. Right, that's that one done. If I minimise that for a second, I think it's this one, Registacks. This is also free software, so you don't need lots of money to play. Right, these are all the images we just caught. There we go. I think the last one's there. There we go. We'll just open that. Right. We're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to leave that on that. Set some align points. These are reference points for the software to work with. There we go. And then we'll click align. We're only go for, we'll go for 150 frames. The best 150 frames. So we'll click align. Move this out of the way so you can see what we're doing. You get to see everything when you come and watch my astronomy streams. And in a minute you'll see how much movement there's been. Right. Next, if we show limit movements, that's the movement, how much movement there is between the top 50 frames we've got in. So if we stack those, shouldn't be very long because we've only selected 150. That's what we've got. And then we go to the magic bit. Now that has cleared up a lot. So if we just tweak these settings here a little bit, you can just see a red and a blue fringe on there, and I'll show you how we're going to get rid of that in a minute. That's chromatic aberration. I'll do for that. Move this out of the way, we don't need that for a minute. RGB align. Now we just click automatic assessment on that. Now it's going to see what offset we need to do for the red, green and blue. You see it working in the bottom left hand corner. And in a second now it'll put in the boxes, the estimates there, look, and you can see the fringes have gone, so that's cleared up that. And now we can tweak the image a little bit. How does that look? Does that look anything like what it should be? Let's have a look at RGB balance. Right, you can see the red, green and blue systems aren't aligned. So we'll bring the red across to the green. And we'll bring the blue down to the green. And now you can see the effect the atmosphere has. That's what the actual telescope was seeing. They're all aligned. So if we just tweak the intensities a little bit. And then bring it back up a little bit there, away from that end of the spectrum. There. There. That is a pretty good capture of Venus, I do believe. Now click the do all button, and there we go, a capture of Venus with the alignment. So if I save this image, put it back on the main desktop, and just it's got today's date 20/05/2020, 20/05/2020 Venus. There we go. So that's reference that file. Click save on that. It'll be a PNG file, which retains a lot more data. So click that. There we go. And that's how quick it is to manipulate a set of data we've captured. Shall we have a quick go on the Mercury ones? I think these two are Mercury. That one's Mercury. Let's have a go see what we can get on Mercury. Open that one. There we go for Mercury. We'll set a couple of align points on that. And we're only going to use 150 frames out of 2,500 because there was a lot of movement. So there we goes on the bottom. Look, it's aligning the best 150 frames. And we'll go through a similar process to what we did with the Venus one. Right, there we go. See the limit movement. That's the limits movement. So let's just stack on that, and we'll let that do its work. And then we'll go to the wavelets. Try and auto balance. There, we'll leave that at that. RGB align, bring that up into there, estimate on that. Now that's way out. You can see the red and the blue's way out, so the data is not. Let's just reset that. Let's just tweak a little bit on here, see if we can get a bit more clarity. See if that's going to work any easier. No, that's not. That's no better. Let's see if we can tweak a little bit manually. Colour mixing. I don't think we colour mix because we don't need to tweak that very much. Let's see if we can just get a little bit more. Right, now let's see if RGB align is going to work on it. Let's view zoomed. Right, this is just a zoom in on that small area just there. So if we get the blue down a bit. No, it was going the wrong way. See why the software had trouble lining it all up. to me, that looks pretty much okay. Right, I'll be with you in a minute, mate. I'm just trying to make a picture out of the data we've got from Mercury. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to get much better than that. I just the blue fringing still needs a bit of tweaking, but hey ho, that'll do for now. That is 2005/2020 Mercury. PNG, save. Right, that's 2 images captured, and let's go back to Venus is trying to do a runner. Let's just reel it back in. It's not leaving here yet. You can see the effect of the wind's having at the moment. So yeah, there we go. So let's see if I can just save the pictures on desktop so they're easy to find. Yep, that's what we've just captured, and I've got Mercury somewhere. I think that's saved in a different place. Yeah, Mercury saved in a different place. But yeah, for a quick stack of only 150 frames out of 2,500, I think that looks pretty reasonable. A little bit of tweaking in Photoshop should turn that into a nice picture. Just wick that out of the way. The Mercury one wasn't as brilliant, but say we were just going for a little bit on Venus. I'm quite happy with that. Right, there's very limited things to go and look at while it's in bright sunshine at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it on here, and I'm going to be sorting some dinner out shortly. I'm just going to check the weather and see what's going to be like later on in the evening. I'm going to do that right now. So it's going to be reasonable in the evening, which it looks like it may well be. Look, the red is 1900 hours, which is now. And it's 93% cloud cover, but I can't see a cloud in the sky at the moment. And then it should improve till 1 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, I have to be up at 5:30, 5:45, so I'm not going to be stopping up till 1 o'clock in the morning. But I will stop up for a few reasonable targets. We'll have a look at something that's out there. Yeah, make the most of the freedom while we've got it, because I reckon there's going to be a resurgence in this virus when people start taking liberties and taking things for granted a little bit too much too soon. But for now, I work in the shop, I work in retail, I work at checkout in Sainsbury's, and I see a lot of people coming through. And the last couple of weeks, they've been getting a little bit overconfident and taking for granted that we've seen nobody poorly, it's not really that bad now, and they're not respecting separation at the moment, not like they did when it all first started. But we've got good management, and I must say our manager is pretty damn hot. He doesn't take crap from nobody. you couldn't want a better bloke to back you up, and he's done so for me a couple of times. So kudos to that man. Anyway, um, I might call it an end for now and come back on around 10 o'clock this evening. Does that sound acceptable to you guys out there? Because you'll be the ones that be tuning in if I do. If there's not a lot of interest, I might just call it a night now and get some shut-eye. So what do you reckon? Would you like me to come back on at 10 o'clock? Just for an hour or two? I could put the big colour camera on. If it stays clear, we might get some of the larger galaxies. Okay, right. If I say I'll start setting up at 10 o'clock and I shall be streaming for about before 1:30. 8 o'clock, 9, 10. Yeah, I'll set it loosely for 10, but I'll start up. Okay, mate. I'll start up again around between 10 and 1:15, and I'll put the wide field colour camera on, and we'll see if we can get a comet and then a galaxy. I think the M61 is going to be a little bit a bit of a stretch because of the thermals and the location. It's just above the rooftops, so there'll be a lot of heat dissipation from the roof, giving off all the heat it's collected in the sunshine today. So I might have to give the supernova a miss, unless I put the mono camera on. That might punch through. No, we'll go for colour, and we'll go for colour galaxies. Right, I'll catch everybody again between 10 and 1:15, and we'll go wide field and we'll go colour, see if we can pick up a couple of galaxies. I'm not sure about nebula, but we'll have a go for some colour galaxies. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen this afternoon. And if anybody wants the data we've collected from these runs on Mercury and Venus, I could perhaps set up a Dropbox and you could download it and play with the software, because the software that I use is completely free. Let me know when you come on later, because it might be something for you to do when you're bored. Right, I'm going to call it at that, and I shall see you all this evening. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen, and I look forward to another stream later on. So catch you all later. Have a nice one.